Welcome, Sainers. Welcome to Saints TV. The first preview, the first live preview of the season, round one against North. It's actually going ahead, believe it or not. I didn't have any big faith during the week with everything that was happening with Gil McLaughlin and all the meetings they were going through during the week, and we're actually at the point where teams are actually announced, which is weird on my part. I'm not. I almost just kind of said, this season was done, but the longer it took for them to announce anything, the more I thought that it was actually going to happen, and that actually did eventuate. That's what's happening. Tonight we're seeing Carlton and Richmond going at it in front of no one, and then, we're going to be doing the same on Sunday. Unless, Majak Dor, who turned up to North's training today, had the flu, unless there's something that happens there that stops our game from going ahead. But at the moment, it's going ahead. The teams are out. It's a new year, new look Saints, but without the fans. So there's kind of a bit of a bittersweet taste to it. You really are excited, and I'm pumped for it. But at the same time, you don't get to go to the game. You don't get to cheer and put the gear on Sunday anyway. But it's just different when you're not driving to Marvel Stadium with all of this optimism, all of this sort of excitement about 6 new faces in the lineup, which we'll talk about. Brad Hill playing his 150th, obviously his first for the Saints and Saints colours. Max King getting his big debut. It's been a year of waiting for that to happen. There's a number of things we'll talk about. No Jake Carlisle in the lineup, which is something that has caught a lot of people's eye. I think if we just try to ignore the corona stuff and we just focus on the footy and the fact that it's going ahead and that this is for 4 points, this is as important as if the crowd was there, then we'll be okay. But if we get caught up in the emotions of it, which it's easier to do, then I think, you get a bit upset. And I know I'm, that sort of person that during the week, it's like, damn it, I can't go to the game on Sunday. Like I might not be able to go to a game all year. We don't know what's going to happen. That's the sad part, is the unpredictability. It's the unknown, the fact that we miss a game this week. So, shitty, but, when it turns out to be 4 weeks, 8 weeks, 12, 16, 20, and then you get to finals, and imagine the grand final with no fans, that's surreal to think about. But for now, let's just stick to round one. Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. Round one is here. The teams are out. We'll go from backline to interchange. So I'll read through the team. You guys let me know what you think. From the backline, we've got Jaron Geary, Cal Wilkie, Dougal Howard. Pretty much the way I would have picked it. Geary's back after, a long time out last year with a couple of unlucky injuries. And then you've got Cal Wilkie, who's obviously hasn't missed a game since he started, since we signed him last year. And then Dougal Howard, whose off-season was great, particularly the game against Collingwood. So 100% he plays on Ben Brown, who I see North Melbourne have named, even though there were question marks over Ben Brown for so long. But they've actually got a fairly strong lineup. So there were a lot of injury worries at North, but from what I can tell in front of me, they're fielding a pretty strong team, so we're going to have to be switched on. Then you've got a halfback. You've obviously got Ben Long, who had a great preseason at that new position that we put him in. Hunter Clark as well. And then you've got Dylan Robertson, who probably plays that centre half-back role. And then you've got Clark and Ben Long kind of either side on those, halfback flank sort of roles. And then in the centre, you've got Jack Billings on one wing. Bit of a quiet preseason, but I like that. I like that there's not too much fuss about him. I'm happy that, the attention's off him and he can just do what he wants to do and do it well. And then you've got support Zach Jones in the centre. I mean, obviously these positions will be shuffled around come game day, but for now, this is how they're fielded. Zach Jones right in the middle, in the guts, not on the wing, not at halfback like a lot of people thought he would go. He's dead in the guts, and I like that. I think he's got the skills, the pace, the power, to do something, and I'm excited that we're going with that. If it stays that way come game day, then you've got Brad Hill on the other wing, which is, amazing to have Billings and Brad Hill on either wing. And then at halfback, you've got Jack Loney, who deserves obviously to start. There's obviously a lot of competition in that small forward role where you've got Dean Kent, you've got Dan Butler, Jack Sinclair. There's a bunch of players that can play in that role. But for now, Jack Loney's earned that spot. He kicked 8 goals in his 2 preseason games. So you can't do much better than that in as a small forward. So kudos to him for doing that. And then you've got Max King at centre half forward, who I think is probably going to play full forward on game day. But for now, he's listed at centre half forward. The big number 12 making his debut. It's bloody exciting. And then you've got Dan Hannabrys, who's on a half forward flank, but that's not going to stay that way. And then you've got at full forward, you've got Paddy Ryder, and then on either flanks there, you've got off pockets, you've got Dan Butler and Tim Membry. So that's good. That's a very strong lineup. And then it even gets better there with followers in Rowan Marshall in the ruck. And I think he'll probably play a majority in the ruck against Goldstein. But obviously, I think Ryder will go in there at some point and we'll try and overpower them. Exactly how we did it against Collingwood. We got Grundy on the outside with Ron Marshall, but then the competitiveness of Paddy Ryder in the ruck, it kind of wore him down a little bit. And I think, that's the benefit of having two really good rucks and two really good rucks that can go forward is that we're going to tire out, one really good ruck. If we can rotate them and rotate them hard and make that other ruck work, it gives our mids, first use of the ball when you get on top in that position. Against Goldstein, it's really important because often North Melbourne have killed us in that sense. With you've got Jai Simkin, you've got Higgins, and then Zeeble going through the midfield. So it's that sort of thing where if you beat Goldstein and you do well there, that puts us in a positive position already, I think. And then you've got Jack Steele, who had a great preseason. And then you've got Gresh, who missed the last game, but, having Gresh in the middle, that class, you've got, so much excitement in this team now, so much leg speed, so much X factor. We've got versatility, we've got depth, and structure and excitement and a positive attitude. Everyone wants to play for Ratton and they're excited. And I'm hoping that on game day, even though there's no crowd, like I keep saying, I don't want to focus on it too much, but even though there's no crowd, there's still excitement. So I'm wondering if the club's going to do something on game day, if they're going to have fans, fan noises or spanners or something, at least just to make it like a normal game day. If it's just kind of running out, and I'm curious to see what they do tonight at the G, if they just run out and it's dead and there's nothing and no sign of colour or anything, then, it's a North Melbourne game, but you need to do something to make up for the lack of cheering. And I'm curious to see what clubs do to make up for that. Because I think, even a game like tonight with Carlton-Richmond, I would usually tip Richmond heavily with the fans. They get them going. It's a big part of, it's their 23rd player almost. So you take that away from them. It really makes a lot of games more neutral now, especially when you're traveling without that noise of affirmation, if you will. And then you've got an extended, going back to the team lineup, on the extended bench, you've got Nick Caulfield, who I think might squeeze into the full team, Dean Kent, Seb Ross, and Luke Dunstan. I'm assuming that those four are the four that make it onto the bench. And then after that, you've got Josh Battle, who's struggling to get into the team at the moment, Ben Patton, and then Jonathan Marsh and Jack Sinclair. Yeah, it's a bit of a tricky one there who makes it, but I'm tipping Caulfield gets a chance. I think Dean Kent might get a chance, obviously Seb Ross, and I think Luke Dunstan deserves it after 29 disposals against Collingwood. 100% he's in. So I think that Josh Battle, Patton, Marsh, and Sinclair being the last name on that extended bench, that's interesting because I thought we'd give him at least round one to work his way into some form, but it looks like he's really on the outer based on his preseason form and all of these new players coming in. So that's not surprising. I said that in the podcast last week that Sinclair was my player that just hasn't taken it to the next level for me. And I think with all of this new competition coming in, whether it's from signing players from other teams like we have with a lot of these new players playing in round one, or it's the emergence of Ben Long at halfback or Hunter Clark going into the midfield pushes someone like Sinclair out. So to me, it's really kind of a tricky one there, but I think, you can't do much about that. It's a good problem to have. If we've got players like Ben Patton, Sinclair, Battle, even Dunstan missing out because of depth. That's exciting. That's when you're becoming a good team, when you have players ahead of really good players, or at least good players. So that's exciting for me. The disappointing one is Jake Carlisle, but I've heard from a lot of comments that he's not playing because he's just not fit enough yet, and they think he might be a couple of weeks away. Other people think he couldn't fit into this back line. We've got Dougal Howard there, Cal Wilkie, Dylan Robert, and you can't play also Jake Carlisle. You have to choose really between Dougal Howard and Carlisle, and Carlisle, he played the first Marsh game and was good. Dougal Howard was okay, but then he took it to the next level against Collingwood, and I think that form really has really locked him down in a key position post in the back line. Let's go through some of these comments. Peter says, very strong team for us. I agree. I think it's a great team. Having Jake Carl out's disappointing, but I think when you look at it in general, No Shane Savage in the lineup at all. No Dan McKenzie's, none of those sort of blokes that, would actually get a game last year. And I think Shane Savage is a tough one because you've got Jaron Geary coming out. And I think if Gears doesn't play, I think Savage probably gets a run. But you've got, Nick Coffield, Ben Long, Hunter Clark. Then you've got Robbo returning. So it makes it really hard for players like Shane Savage to get a game unless there's injuries. Luke says, Jimmy Webster, ? Often was our best player before injury. That's a good point. Jimmy Webster not in the lineup as well. So you've got Jimmy Webster, Jake Carlisle, Josh Battle. Those are three players that played a bit of, defense last season when we had a lot of injuries, and some of them not suited to that position like Battle and went back there and did a good job. But now you get players back, you sign some players, and this is what I was saying. This is depth. This is a good problem to have, and it's just a matter of how Ratton keeps the morale high for the players that think they should be playing, but, can't get into the team. And I'm sure they've all had that conversation where it's like, this is what the team is. You have a role, but for this week, it's just, we can't fit you in. Just really be honest with them. And I'm sure that's how they do it. It's not just a matter of, see you later. We've got a new player in town where you have been forgotten. Everyone, there's 40 plus people involved in a footy club. And I feel like Ratton's the sort of guy that makes sure that every single one of those players and administration people, they all know their part. So if you're not getting a game, I think, you'll get your chance. And if you take it, then, he'll repay you. Lockie says, what's the go with Savage? Forgotten now that Long and Clark are back. Surely Savage is better than Patton. I think, from what I saw from Pats, I don't think that's his nickname, but I've just made it up. So, whatevs. From Patton, in the second Marsh game against Collingwood, I thought he was really good. I thought he did some small things, but they were really important things, and he put his body on the line. And I think he may not be as good as Savage, in terms of experience. Obviously, Savage has played a lot more games than him, but I think, a lot of these positions are going to be overtaken by the Coffields and Pattons in terms of their potential. And, in our next final series, is Savage going to be playing in it, or is it going to be a Nick Coffield emerging or a Ben Patton, playing a tough role to get us the chocolates at the end of the day? I think that's the way I would go. And if I was coaching this team, Savage will get his chance, with injuries, with who we're playing. But in terms of absolute best team and pushing to the future, I think you've got to play the guys like Coffield and Patton and Clark and Long. You've got to give those guys a chance, because if you don't, and then Savage finishes up, he retires, and this is how we were under Ross. All these players go away, whether we trade them or they retire. Dowell, Montagna, and Rewalt. You have no one to replace them with, and you're stuck. So I think you need to ensure that you get games into Coffields and Pattons, but obviously you need to manage, the players like Savage, who, a year ago would be, a lock in that forward pocket, back pocket position. A good question. Best show of the week, says Lockie. So, no doubt best show of the week. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. I don't know if I'm getting all the comments. This is a new Facebook Live streaming platform. So if I miss your comment, just keep harassing and just copy and paste it, and it'll come through at some point. But it's a new platform, so let me know if you like it. Microphone, nice bit of a setup. So hopefully, the levels are going pretty high on Saints TV lately. So hopefully keep that momentum going on the field on the weekend. Peter says having guys like Hill come in takes pressure off Billings and will hopefully allow him to grow into an elite player. Great comment. I think I said that earlier in different words, but yeah, I think that, last year there was so much pressure on players like Billings, Dunstan, Seb Ross, especially with players like Jack Stephen going down and not playing a lot of games. This year it's a different story. Billings is like against Collingwood 2 weeks ago. He had 25, 26 possessions. No one said anything. He had like 70% efficiency, did his job. And then, everyone's frothing over Brad Hill and Dunstan and all these guys. And I thought that was perfect. That's what we want. We want to have Brad Hill dominate the game and set up goals. But then at the same time, when I look at the stat sheet, I want to see, Billings has had another 32, comfortable. That's his goal. He's got to get 30 possessions every week. Just Mr. Consistent. He doesn't need to overdo it, because I think, at such a young age, when he came in and he was young, especially that game against the Bulldogs where he kicked 4 and had, 25 possessions, we came back from 55 down at halftime and won. Everyone's like, let's put all our eggs in the Jack Billings basket. And I think that's risky to do for such a young player. It puts him under pressure, and everyone gets over-reliant on one player. But I think when you look at this team, there's no one there that we're like, he needs to play well for us to win. Obviously, Brad Hill, we want to play well every week. But, there's no one there that's like, even 2016, 17, we still had Rewalt. And it's like, if Rewalt doesn't kick 4, we probably don't win. But in this, if Max King, obviously we can't expect him to kick 4 every week. Dan Butler will bob up with 2. Membry will bob up with 2 or 3, and that's his goal for the season, to kick over 50. Paddy Ryder might get 1 rotating in the ruck. Marshall might get 1 rotating in the ruck. Not to mention Jack Loney and Gresh resting there. And then you've got Brad Hill, Billings, and Zach Jones, who are attacking-minded players. So I think everyone, across the board, you want to be balanced. And I think this team has a lot of balance, and we haven't had that for a long time. So I think, that's a great comment, which what Peter was saying is that Billings will go under the radar, but I think this will help him grow and become that elite player that we really believe he can be. So we'll just have to wait and see, but 100% I agree with that. Gary says the Tiger cheer squad's left a banner behind the goals. So I actually just saw that. Someone just sent me a picture. So that's a really cool touch. But I was more thinking like, do they want to really show all of the empty seats on the telecast? I thought maybe they'd want to, do tarps, but I heard someone, and I agree with them, imagine tarps, but with, more logos or, some sort of cool design. It makes it look a bit different. Instead, it's going to be like, there's a tarp behind the goals where the cheer squad was, and then there's going to be seats everywhere. So I don't know if clubs are going to be able to do something different, but I think even as extra advertising space for all the sponsors, that could be cool, especially because more people are going to be watching on TV and you have more space to actually put logos and promote your own businesses. Maybe that's something as the AFL as a business would do to make more money, but I don't think that's happening tonight. But it might grow into that if, this goes on longer, because I think, you don't want it to watch it and feel like this is a preseason game, and that's the worry for me, is that you look at it and you're like, is this round 1 or is this March series again? That's the sort of thing that worries me. But the cool thing is it's never been done before. We don't know what to expect, so we just have to wait and see. Brian says, how many rounds do you think the AFL will last this year? Well, I'm hoping 17. That's already big news that, we'd gone from 22 games to 17 games, but it had to be done. There might be a week or two where shit's going to hit the fan with coronavirus and you're going to have to stay indoors and the players won't even be able to train. So, they've got that buffer time now. And I think everyone's been pretty hard on the AFL, but imagine being in that position where you've got a huge season, billion-dollar company, and you don't know what to do it with. You could easily just jump on board and do what everyone else is doing. But if you really think about a solution, and I think this is a solid solution, to be honest, I think AFL players have their best medicos available to them. They're fit, they're isolated from the world as it is. They don't really go out that often anyway. I think this is a safe way of doing it. But if obviously one player gets sick, competition closes, and then you wait for the recovery 2 weeks later. So that's why there's that gap. But I'm just hoping, I want to watch as much football as I can. It's been a long bloody wait. I don't want to have to wait more weeks, but I'm just glad that at least round 1's going ahead, and then we can just take it week by week and see how we go. Ben says, Ross, Dunstan, who else makes the final 2 spots? I think I mentioned it. It was going to be Ross, Dunstan. I think Caulfield makes it, and I think it's a battle of Dean Kent, Sinclair, and Battle. And I don't mean to say it's a battle of Battle and that, but yeah, I think it's out of the rest. It'll be Caulfield, Ross, and Dunstan. Then it's Dean, Kent, Battle, and Sinclair. I think they're the best. Patton, I'd love to get a game, but I just don't see it right now. And John O'Marsh, I don't think he had enough game time in the preseason. But it's hard because VFL's suspended. You don't even get the players that don't play, don't even get to prove themselves. They're going to do it during the week, and that's the hard part. So no VFL, obviously, for the season, suspended indefinitely. So you don't even have that luxury of being like, okay, well, we won't play Patton. He can go to Sandringham and he can play a really good game and then make his way back in for whoever stuffs up on the weekend. But you don't have that luxury now. It's just kind of gut feel and just based on training form. Peter says players will have to play well to secure spots, which will hopefully improve the side with guys ready to take their spot. 100%. Big part of why I think we're going to do well this season. It's the depth. Speaking of depth, Adam says, great to see so much depth. What happens with our players who miss out? There'll be no games for them during the year. Yeah, exactly my point. No VFL. I think maybe you just play more intra-clubs. If there's enough players that aren't playing on the Sunday, can you maybe create a game at RSEA behind closed doors and get them playing with some assistant coaches running the drills or something? But you need match simulation. You can't just train and then after so long go into a game and then perform. You need some sort of match fitness. And I think, even if it's during the week against the seniors versus whoever would be Sandringham, maybe you do that, but you don't want to risk the seniors in a match sim all the time, every week after playing a game. So I think he'd probably do it with the players that just don't play, which would be over 20 or 30 of them, I'd imagine. Jason's has really thought that Sandy would have a good year this year, but not now. It's a shame. Pat's goes all right, says Darren, the nickname. Caroline says, so glad Saints TV is back. Really enjoy it. Thanks, Caroline. Really enjoy all the positive comments. Jason says they can do advertising with CGI. Brian, thanks for your awesome, well-thought-ful, knowledgeable answers. Love Saints TV. So much love today, guys. What's going on? What's your thoughts on Geary, asks Kyle. He will bring experience. Without Geary in that back line, you've got Cal Wilkie, who's, second season. You've got Dougal Howard, who's playing his first official game for St Kilda. Ben Long, who hasn't played a game at halfback in a long time. Hunter Clark, who, is a gun, but he can't lead that back line. Then you've got Dylan Robertson, who's been out with a heart problem for God knows how long, nearly 2 years. So you need gears there. You need gears to command that position, to control that area. And if he's not there, I think it really does create some sort of confusion. Because no one there is a born leader just yet. I think Dougal Howard is 100% got that written all over him. But I think, because it's a new club, it's round one, new team, first game for us, you need gears there to kind of demand everything. And I think that he brings that more than his skill himself. We all know he's not the most skilled player, but Geary brings some sort of calm to the back line, and I'm really happy that he's back, especially with Robbo as well. It's been since 2018, round 4 or 5, so it's going to be amazing. It's just, Max, there's so much excitement. 6 new faces, Max King debuts. You got Dylan Robertson coming back from injury, Jaron Geary coming back from injury. There's so much there. Again, I'm just getting drawn back. I'm not going to be there. It's just upsetting, but it is what it is, and I think, I haven't talked too much about North Melbourne, but they're fielding a strong team, and it's going to be a battle. These are the sort of games that we need to win. These are the teams that think they're better than us, think they have the better list. Go to the big footy, boards and read North fans and what they think of us. They don't think we're that great, but the one thing they're worried about, and I think a lot of teams will be worried, they're worried about our leg speed. We're fast. Brad Hill, Zach Jones. Nick Hines not in that lineup, but he's lightning. You've got Dean Kent, who's pretty fast. And John O'Marsh, if he plays, is pretty fast. And you've got Butler, Loney on the ground. Tim Membry's not too slow. Ben Long out of the back line. There's a lot of speed there. And I think with the ball movement, it makes us even faster. We're not going to be stop-start like we were last season. There's going to be a lot of play-ons and 1-2s and that sort of stuff, running and handball receive. So that is something that's going to worry North. I think that is going to be something that worries a lot of teams come the rest of this year. So, for now, we'll just focus on round 1. I'm confident that we're going to get the win. I tip us by, 25, 26 points. I'd love a 5+ goal win. And, these are the sort of games, round 1, not everyone's going to be up to scratch. There's still going to be some rustiness. We've got so many new faces. The chemistry is not going to be 100% of the time. But these are the sort of games, like last year with round 1, we got over the line against Gold Coast by a point, and then we won 4 of the first 5. And I think, we've definitely got a better chance this year of going on an even stronger run because... Or maybe not. We've got round 2. I think we've got Richmond or West Coast. Then we've got round 3, Richmond. So there's a tough run of games. That's why this game is so important. I might wrap it up there, guys. But the last couple of comments. Luke says, "Go Saints! Exciting list this year." Eddie says, "You're on fire, mate. Love it." And Brian says, "Are you going to live before the Saints game on Sunday?" I was thinking about it, but I think I'll just let everyone enjoy the day. I might do a little quick story or, Insta stories every now and then, but I won't go live and do that sort of thing. But, I'll think about it. I haven't decided. I was thinking of doing maybe a full live of me watching the entire game, but who's going to watch me and watch the game at the same time? If you had the choice of the two, you watch the game and enjoy supporting the boys. And I love that that's a hashtag that's going around the AFL start. It is hashtag we are watching or something. I think that's what I saw. So make sure that on game day, if you're wearing Saints colours, you're watching the game, just take a photo, send it into Saints TV, tag St Kilda, tag Saints TV, and let's just show the club that everyone's on board. And even though we're not at the ground, the boys can feel that we're really supportive and really wanting to do well. I'm going to leave it there, guys. Actually, Carl's got one more question. Before you go, what's your thoughts on Carlisle? I've said my thoughts. He's not going to be guaranteed every week, but I've heard he's not fit. just yet, but when he becomes fit, it's going to be based on form and who we're playing, and I like that approach. So I think that's what that is. Anyway, guys, I'll leave it there. Thank you so much for watching. Actually, before I go, I just wanted to flag that if you haven't already listened to it or seen anything about it, on Thursday night, or Tuesday night, sorry, it's Thursday night tonight. Tuesday night, we launched the new Saints TV podcast. Thanks to Podula. It's a great team there at Podula that allow us to go into the studio and record really, really good quality podcasts. And it's myself, Joycey, who you'll learn to really enjoy. He's a great host on the show. And then Matty Marsh, who runs Aisle 29, the king of Aisle 29, which is a shame that there's no crowds because Aisle 29 Marvel, they always sang songs and did all that cool stuff. But if you haven't had a chance, go and listen to the first episode. It's really, I think we're building something nice there, and it's pretty funny. We talk about the coronavirus. We talk about round one. We talk about how we know each other and how we became Saints fans and where we've come from in the past. So it'd be great if you guys could support that. And it's on Spotify. Just type in Saints TV podcast. It's also on Apple Podcasts. It's on every platform, and already we've had nearly 400 listens, or downloads, in a day or 2 days, less than 2 days. So thanks so much for all the support, guys. But yeah, it'd be great if you haven't already, subscribe to the podcast and have a listen. It's an hour of really good Saints talk, and there's a lot of podcasts out there, but I think this one's, it's got some honesty. It's coming from left field a little bit, so hopefully you guys enjoy it. Anyway, guys, I'm going to wrap it up there. Thanks again for watching. Sorry if I didn't get to answer all the comments. We'll be back on Sunday for a live review. So right after the game's at 1:10, should be finished by about 4:30. Right after the game, no matter win, draw, or loss, I'll be here and we'll be talking about the game. I'll see you guys then. Go Saints.